A fast start, but too many mistakes doomed the Rams. Hello, everybody. Terry Bennett here on the Powell Ford Mineral Wells Football Show, right here on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media. As the Rams jumped out early on Benbrook, 14-0, but could not hold on. Penalties, a fourth down at midfield at the spot was questionable. That could have changed the game completely, but still a lot of good things from this game. And I had a couple fans talk about the fact, well, Benbrook was 1-9 last year, but that's a 1-9 team that was all sophomore. And they're going to be really good this year, and they're going to be really good next year as well. But for the Rams, a good learning experience. You know, the first 2 weeks you jumped out early and you held those leads. You jump out early on a good team. You've got to keep playing well. You can't just go, hey, 14-0, we're done, because especially in today's NFL, today's football, 14 isn't what it used to be. You get offenses with 60 snaps a game, you're going to get chances to come back when you're down 14-0. And when you're up 14-0, you've still got to make every drive pay off, because you go 2-3 and outs, and next thing you know, you're tied. And that's literally what happened. And then the end of the first half, a touchdown by Benbrook. Again, learning experience. Into the halves, you got to close those out defensively. You can't let those scores out, because it just changes the way the game is. When you get a touchdown that late and you go up after being down 14-0, it just completely, in my opinion, took the air out of the Mineral Wells balloon. Anyway, you learn from those, you move on. It's homecoming week, and you're taking on a Sanger team that's a lot like Mineral Wells. They got a lot of talent. They're kind of young. They got a new coach, Coach Chad Rogers, who is head coach at Snyder, Denison. Took Snyder to the state semifinals all the way back in 2004. Gilmer beat them at Texas Stadium. I remember so well because I broadcast that game. But this is going to be a great matchup. Again, homecoming, and we'll talk to Coach Worrell about homecoming. Homecoming is just so different from like when I was in high school, way back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, to be fair. But you played your rival. Like, that's what you did. Alternating years, you played your biggest rival for homecoming, and then you played your second biggest rival the years that you were on the road against your biggest rival. Now, coaches are smart. They put them outside of district if they can. And it's not really about trying to schedule an easy game. Some do. But it's just trying to schedule in a non-district, because there's just so much stuff that the kids are required to do. And already these kids are stretched thin every day in normal life with football and what other extracurricular. And then you add homecoming. And so homecoming is completely changed to where it was 15, even 10 years ago, but especially 15, 20, 25 years ago. So we'll talk to Coach about that. We'll talk to him about the loss against Benbrook, what they can learn from that, and we'll talk about the matchup against Sanger, and we'll do all that when we come back right here on the Powell Ford Mineral Wells Football Show. We want to thank Jack Powell Ford for being the title sponsor for the Mineral Wells Football Show all season long. You can go online to jackpowellford.com. Not only see their inventory, but in today's world, you can get pre-qualified. You don't even have to use your Social Security number. And you can find the car you want and basically buy it right there. Also, if you need parts, Jack Powell Ford will help you. Give them a call, 844-641-4086. And that's their part department. You don't have to call the central operator and then get, spun around to 5 different departments before they finally get you to the right one. Their sales is in their service and their parts, all 3 different numbers. That's the way I like it. Again, find them online at jackpowellford.com. Give a call, sales, 866-548-7032. Service, 844-677-3581. And again, for parts, 844-641-4086. You can find them on Facebook. Just type in Jack Powell Ford. And hey, if you want to do it the old school way, go down to the dealership, 1418 South 1st Street in Mineral Wells. Terry Bennett back here on the Powell Ford Mineral Wells Football Show, now joined by the head coach of the Rams, Coach Chad. Hey, there you go. First time I've done that. Coach Cody Worrell. I was wondering when I was going to do that, and it's the first time for you and Cody Worrell. Hey, at least we can laugh. Tough game last week, man. It looked like the first quarter, the way y'all jumped out, but then the penalties, the mistakes. But this is kind of what you expect from a young team like this.
No, absolutely. And I knew it was going to be a tough game. I kind of told you last week it was going to be a tough thing. Benbrook's really, I'm telling you, Benbrook's a good football team. Told our kids that, and they do a really good job. Coach Slater and his staff do a phenomenal job over there of, offensively and defensively. They're tough. And, yeah, it did. We got up to a 14-0 lead, and, after that, Benbrook kind of woke up offensively. They threw an interception their second play of the game and we were already up 7-0. And so we got up on them 14-0 without their offense really taking the field and making a drive of things. And so they did a good job, and we had some opportunities, and we didn't execute on all those opportunities. Got stuffed on a 4th and inches. That was kind of the game changer, in my opinion, of the game there in the first half, and they scored with about 13 seconds left in the second, at the end of the half to make it a 21-14 ball game, get the ball back in the second half. They did, and went down and scored, and got a couple of penalties called on us, which we got to clean up, but no, I was proud of our kids though, because I don't believe that they quit, and that was my biggest fear, is about how we were going to, respond to getting punched in the mouth for the first time. Not the first time, but 4 quarters of getting punched in the mouth, and our kids didn't quit. I was proud of them about that. I told them after the game how proud I was that they didn't quit, and we talked about that at halftime. And we talked about it in the third quarter when they went up by 2 scores, and our kids kept playing hard.
Well, yeah, and you and I have talked about how you knew what those first 2 weeks were going to be like, and you felt, hey, we want to get out fast, we want to get these wins and get confidence, because you knew the next 3 games, and really 4, because I still think Gatesville's a pretty solid program, but especially Benbrook, Sanger, and Graham. You know there's going to be some trials and tribulations ahead. But I'm like you. I think the way y'all responded shows that confidence from those first 2 wins are still there.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Our kids are still believing, and they're still hungry, and all the same stuff that they were going on the first 2 weeks of the season. And, I've really enjoyed the way our kids responded this week. Last week, me and you and I talked off the air. We didn't have a very good week of practice.
Yeah.
And, our kids, after the game on Saturday, they were all here first thing in the morning for film. Our Unity Council wanted to meet after their first loss of the year and talk about some things that we can change. And, it's the real cliche thing to say, you learn more from a loss than you do a win. And our kids really are invested in that. And so we came out this week in practice and had a great week of practice. And it does help that it's so nice outside, especially in the mornings. But I've been proud about how our kids have responded.
Well, and this also allows them to learn that the message you give them when y'all win and the message you give them when y'all lose is going to be the same thing. And that's, again, where that trust between player and coach is laid.
100%. And, I felt like I said, this week and over the weekend that, our kids have really woke up and they're trusting me. And I'm really gotten to where I really trust them. Because they're like I said, they're wanting to change how we respond after losses, and they've shown that. They haven't just talked about it; they've shown it during practice, and they've also talked about it how they want to change, but then they put that stuff out onto the field.
All right, well, you move on now. You're going to take on Sanger. Not only you're getting a really tough team in Sanger, but you're getting it on homecoming. And that's one of the things that I learned the most as I grew up, that, hey, coaches are not always the biggest fan of homecoming. Yeah, the festivities are fun, but I don't think people understand it adds to kids who already are, they're stretched thin anyway in life. But then you add, oh, yeah, and on this week we're going to do 50 other different things for homecoming.
Yeah, it's a homecoming week and I would think that most coaches feel the same way. For me, yes, we love the alumni coming back to the game. We love the festivities as far as the bonfire and the parade. That's great for that's great for our community. But yeah, that's definitely trying to limit the distractions of the week. Like what I told our kids. I told our kids on Saturday when they came in, homecoming week. That it's a thing for our community. It's a community thing. The cheerleaders, the band, those kids, our football players need to enjoy that. I'm not saying that they don't, but they have a job to do. And the job is everyone is coming. And I've told the kids this. What does everybody go for homecoming? They go to the football game. So it's and we have to play in it. So we got a job to do and trying to keep our kids focused. And to be honest with you, I believe that our kids have done a really good job. We have a parade this evening, as well as a bonfire at the end of that parade. And our kids, we've talked to them about enjoying that stuff, but don't be going to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning and hanging out and doing all that stuff before a game, because we got a job to do.
Well, let's talk about it. What are your thoughts on Sanger?
Man, they're a good football team. They're getting better each and every week, from the scrimmages all the way up to where they are now. They don't have very many seniors. I think they've got 6 or no, they've got more than that. They don't have very many seniors. I was talking to Coach Rogers the other day on the phone, and he was telling me how young they were. And you look at the roster, they are young. They've got a lot of sophomores. They've got 2 or 3 freshmen playing, and they're good football players. And that's to be expected when, it's kind of like us with some of our skill kids. When you're young, you're going to make mistakes. But as you move forward, you're getting better and better each and every week, and that's what they're doing. They've got their skill kids are very impressive, both offensively and defensively. Their O-line is getting better each and every week, as well as their defensive line, and they look like a Chad Rogers coach team. They're physical and they're pretty sound and disciplined, and they do a good job over there.
For you, looking at where you're at after 3 games, are you ahead of where you thought you are, about where you thought you are, or are you behind where you thought you were?
I think that we're about where I thought we would be. Offensively, we're probably a little ahead of where I thought we would be as far as what we have on so far. Defensively, we're probably a little bit. We don't have near as much on as what we plan on having toward by the end of the season.
Yeah.
So I think that, and that's pretty much with our defense the way we run it, we want to make sure that we're running the basic stuff to perfection at first before we expand out. And so, having said that, I knew that going into the season. So I would say we're about where I thought we would be at this point in the season.
Now, last year, this team started out 3-0, and then they went on a 7-game skid. Y'all started out 2-0 this game, and you have a loss. Now, again, this is where that player coach trust is, because in the back of the players' minds that were there last year, they're going, okay, is this start this again last year? How do you reinforce that it's different this year?
No, I mean, we just take it week by week. I try to tell. We've talked about how the hot start last year and the 7-game skid after that. And we talked about that before the season, but it's something that we don't really bring up. I'm just more focused on our kids focusing on Sanger, not looking to the weeks ahead, not talking about what happened, the last 2 or 3 weeks, but taking it week by week. And when you take it week by week, and you focus up win or loss, coming off a win or a loss, and you're worried about the next opponent, you're going to be able to, pull together and make sure that those guys are focused in each and every week. I don't think our kids even think about what happened last year. I think they're focused solely on Sanger this week, and we're trying to. After that, we'll push forward to the next one.
Here at L4 Media, we talk high school football, 4A, 3A, and 2A in Texas. We talk East Texas sports. We talk NFL, guy talk, movie and booze. We also talk wrestling and so much more. And you can see it all on our YouTube channel at L4 Media Company. Like and subscribe. Well, it took about 5 episodes in. It took about 5 episodes in for me to call Coach Cody Worrell his dad, Chad. Sorry about that, Cody. But anyway, good interview as always. And as we talked about, great learning experience in that Benbrook game. And that's what these games are for. That's even what the wins, the losses. You're going to learn in the non-district, and I'm with him, and I think most great coaches will tell you that you tend to learn more in losses. Now, in saying that, you tend to learn more in losses when you have wins wrapped around them, and when you're losing 5-6 in a row, that stops being the thing. But if you're a team going into district play and you've played 5 games and you're 2-3 or you're 3-2, I think you get a great balance right there. And that's where when you're a team trying to, again, learn how to win consistently when it matters, you've got to be put into those spots where sometimes you fail. The penalties, as we talked about, that giving up that late touchdown, not making it on 4th down, little things like that you might not do successfully in game A, but when it comes back up in game F, then you start making those plays. And that's where the Rams are right now. And that's why we're here along for the ride. And make sure you enjoy homecoming. I like how he said it. Homecoming's for the community, and for somebody that says, "Well, what about the players?" Well, they'll enjoy it too later on when they're part of that community, whether they're staying in Mineral Wells or coming back to it. For this week, it's a job. And you can enjoy some of the things. You can enjoy the parades and all, but you've got to remember the focus on the game is because homecoming's never quite as fun when you lose. So enjoy the homecoming, enjoy the football, and we'll be back next week to talk about it right here on the Powell Ford Mineral Wells Football Show on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media.